What's up, guys? This is David, aka Reverselong, and today I got William Coz from Activ8 Insights. And William and we actually met in person in the Mexico City conference, the Friendly Bear conference in Mexico City, not long ago. This is like a month or two ago. It was great.
Yeah, man.
And before that, I actually was in Buenos Aires, and I got in contact just randomly with William's brother, which is also part of Activ8 Insight, and his brother Matt. And Matt attended the conference and the activities there and in Buenos Aires, and now right after that in Mexico. So I learned that they like to they like to travel as well, especially in Latin America, and so do I. So we connected, and it's so important to connect in the in-person events because that's where like the real networking happens and the real juicy stuff is shared. Because the juicy stuff, you can't like, a lot of times it's just sensitive material. So you gotta have to speak about it in person and share ideas like that. And it's just the human connection is never going to go away. So we have AI and all this stuff happening, but the human connection, it's the human connection. It's never going to go. So with that being said, but yeah, Activate Insight, they have a really good software and newsletter, and Will's going to talk about it more. But they track all the short report outlets and all the track records of all the short report outlets. And it's really interesting to see the performance and the historical performance. And not only that, but also like the insights that they have and their observations from coming from the short report world. And just, it's great stuff. So anyway, Will, how's it going? If you can share a little background on yourself, and if you can clarify anything if I didn't say it as well as you could about Activate
Yeah.
Insight.
No, I really appreciate it, David. Thank you so much for having me. And it was always great to see you and great to see you in Mexico City. Again, it's by pure coincidence that one of our journalists, Matt, lives in Buenos Aires and I happen to have a house in Mexico City. So it was awesome to be able to make that work. And yeah, it was great to be around a bunch of short sellers and happy to be here today. So I appreciate it. Yeah, happy to give a quick background on Activ8 Insights. Yeah, just before I go on, the boring housekeeping items. Nothing I say today is investment advice or a recommendation on any security. Everything I cite is historical price data. The allegations in any report that I bring up today are that of the research organization that processed them. The lawyers really like when I say that, so I figured I had to give that disclaimer, David. Yeah, but happy to give a background on Activ8 Insights. So I was one of those individuals that was interested in trading at a really, really early age. I grew up in a house where my dad, you know, uh, worked many corporate finance jobs. In between some of his positions, he actually managed to be a pretty successful day trader, and he leaned on the contrarian side of things. And the common dinner conversation was talking about, mispriced assets, potential fraudulent companies, things of that nature. So I really grew up around that type of talk, and that helped shape me on who I would become as a short seller eventually. In 2010, my dad handed me the book The Big Short, and I think I read it in about 2 days, and really it was off to the races from then. I spent most of my career in corporate finance positions, mostly on the investment side, analyzing public and private equities. Uh, in between that, I tried to manage as a successful short seller. I would say I had a really mixed track record. I've seen your results. It really is fantastic. I wish I could have produced some of those results. Maybe if the Friendly Bear University had been around at that time, I might have had better success, but I did not. I then trended towards actually trading with the activists, and what I mean by that is, I had been introduced by my father to Carson Block. So I had known about this activist short selling world. And I read through a bunch of reports and I realized that the research they were producing seemed extremely credible. And I started building my own tracking mechanism to see how well the stock price performed following an activist short selling report. And I started to trade along with the activist short sellers. I started to have success. And that really led me down the road where in 2023, decided to launch Activ8 Insights formally, we brought on a team of data scientists, a team of technologists, a team of journalists to cover the short side of Wall Street. And we really want to provide both a news outlet focusing on the activist short selling world, as well as a data platform that helps potential short sellers, even long investors, keep track of their investments and potentially gain success by trading along with activist short sellers.
Great. Okay, so you improved your trading with the data and the information of the activist short sellers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. I mean, it's it seems simple, but it got more challenging the more and more I got into it. As we know, activist short selling is a disparate community. There's organizations that will post on different mediums like Substack. They'll post on their own websites. Some will tweet about it, some won't. And so being able to collect all of that data and actually pick out which activists I personally wanted to trade along with was very challenging. And so what we did at Activ8 Insights is collated all that information into a single data platform. We cover it like a news organization, provide commentary that supports both the retail and institutional traders on their potential short selling adventures or protecting the long side of their investments.
Gotcha. Okay. So when did you get started with this? You said 2023 you were doing that?
Yeah, 2023, we officially launched the platform and it took many, many forms. I will say it was pretty ugly in the first iteration of that. I'm sure somebody can dig up a Wayback Machine of what the website first looked like. I started really doing like truly following activist short selling during the pandemic. You know, I was stuck at home.
Hmm.
I was looking for different investment opportunities, and I started literally just writing down every single activist short report that came out on an Excel sheet and tracking the overall stock performance following that. I then wanted to bring that research and that data to the broader retail community and the broader institutional investor community, and decided to launch Activ8 Insights in 2023, and it's grown immensely since then.
Awesome. Now, okay, so you got interested in this around the pandemic time. Now,
Mhm,
I'm sure you probably looked into like the historical short reports, like even before then. For me, it's interesting. I always love history and looking back
mhm,
and learning from it. And with my podcast, the Friendly Bear podcast, I had the opportunity to interview many short report um, founders the, of their research firms. And one in particular. I remember I was reading, so I have a book, Short Selling Master, which is I got the physical form now, but it's gonna be released published in a month, August 4th. And one of the inspirations for my book early on was I was trying to find as many short selling information or short selling books out there, and I couldn't find many. And I remember read
mhm,
one. What's it called? Sold Short by I think Emmanuel Asencio is his name. And
mhm,
I read that book and like I read it a couple times. I didn't get understand it fully. Basically, it's a book on short reports that this no, Asencio and Co. I think was the fund name that they were publishing short reports on the internet in the dot-com boom.
mhm,
So he was the first person to uh put short reports on the internet. And this is like 1999. He even shorted Nvidia when it first came out. And I interviewed him on the pod. I reached out to him um a couple years ago and we got in contact and we did a podcast. But the podcast ended up being a private podcast. I kept it within the Friendly Bear University network because it's just he was saying some he's the older man now. Anyways, it's private. But the podcast is private. But he told me Nvidia when he put the report on Nvidia it was like picking a nickel in front of a freight train, so it's like it wasn't worth it. But he did very well with the short reports. But since it was a new industry, he ended up getting sued many, many, many times, and because they didn't have any laws about like putting reports on the internet or what's legal, um what's free speech or what I don't know what. They just didn't have enough. It was a new thing. And the new thing sometimes, you just it's someone's got to take the hits first and be the scapegoat, and then they make laws, and then then it becomes a more a viable industry. But yeah, he was the first. So, and then after that, we saw what happened with the lawsuits recently with some of the short report outlets, and we've seen some like Hindenburg, for example, disbanded. So it's still like an industry that's kind of new. It's like 2020, it's 26 years now since Asencio put out that report in 1999, 1998, the dot-com boom. I think he did it during when the market came down. Um it's only been 26, 27 years since the industry even existed, short reports in general on the internet, because we do all these reports on the internet. So I wanted to see your thoughts of the short report history, and then we can talk about how that's evolved. So now we
Yeah.
have so many ways to publish on the internet with social media and with newsletters to help us get a better understanding with the data and the history, and like it's evolved a lot. Just wanted to see your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And that I love that you read that book. There's probably I don't know how many people know that book, but I'm glad you read it. I think when I think of the history of activist short selling, it's if I skip past the Dutch East India Company in 1609, and then even a little bit past Emmanuel Asencio's, and talk about the Enron story where Chanos worked with and or supplied his research to journalists, and that all ended up in the situation we're all very familiar with at this point. So I think what Emmanuel realized, and when Andrew Leff started Stock Lemon in 2001, what I think became really apparent, and there's a great line from the New Yorker and this author called AJ Liebling, and he said freedom of press is guaranteed only to those who own one. So if you think about what that means is, Chanos at the time, the internet still was relatively new, and in 2000 it wasn't as ubiquitous, and it wasn't as easy to actually publish stories on the internet. Asencio figured it out, but it wasn't that easy. What happened in the early 2000s was that problem started to get smaller and smaller, where the individuals that controlled the power of publishing started becoming less and less powerful, because in 2001 suddenly everybody owned a printing press. They were able to disseminate information very quickly. As soon as they were able to formulate their opinions, put together their research, they were able to publish it immediately to the World Wide Web and to potentially millions of people. The cost of putting on a bearish thesis in the front of the entire market went from convince the editor to zero overnight. And so that really started the not just short investment publications, but actually just general investment publications in general, and how they were able to get out to the masses in a really quick fashion. And so I think it changed three things. First is speed. A thesis used to take weeks to reach a market through a journalist. Now it's minutes after all the research is completed. Second, it leveled the fight that had never been leveled before. For the first time, one researcher with evidence had the same reach as a company's entire communications machine. And third, the one people miss, it created the paper trail. So when a short call was a whisper to a reporter, a phone call to a reporter, there was no record. You could cannot score anybody because nothing was on the record to score unless it was publicly made available after, as in the case of the Enron situation. The moment the report became published with a date on it, every activist short seller started building a track record, whether they wanted one or not. So our entire database exists because of that. You cannot have a scoreboard until the game leaves a record. And in 2001, really, or rather early 2000s, is when the record started to be recorded.
Incredible, man. That's awesome. So like, yeah, the barrier to entry, it's just so much better this way. It's like you can just publish a report. And now the media outlets, they pick up the reports that are published. It's not the other way around where you got to go to an
Yeah,
editor and convince them. Now
you're 100% right.
they're forced to uh pick it up. You know, if it's good, it's good. They gotta pick it
Yeah.
up. You know, they're doing their job. But before you had to convince the editor, and yeah, you had to the phone calls. There's really no track record of the phone call. So
Yeah.
now it's a timestamp and a date stamp.
Mhm.
So it's much better. So it's a new game now. And
Yeah. 100%.
yes, it's like that with a lot of things these days. This is better with YouTube, you know, with streamers or whatever it is. All this stuff is democratized now.
Yeah.
So um it's much more efficient and there's much more opportunity. Even trading, like what I'm doing over here, it used to be only like Wall Street professionals could do it, and the commissions were so high, and there's so many barriers to entry. Now anybody could do it. It's so much better.
Mhm.
You're in control, and that's what's cool about Activate Insights is you guys take it a step further and track all that in depth and have made it, you know, great information, easy to access, you know,
Mhm.
so all in one place. So as before, as you would have to just do that all on your own and figure it out. Now you have a niche or you focused on. It's really cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
yeah. So what about okay, now since you've been so Activate Insights, it's when did it really start to really hone in and develop like to be really like in depth, like what it is now? It's or the direction it's heading in now, like really
Yeah,
refined. It's like
happy to talk about it now. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
I mean, listen, we've built. I mean, we've obviously moved past the dot-com age. We're living in the AI age, and so there's really two core elements of our organization and our platform. One is we want to cover the activist short selling world like a newsroom. We believe that activist short sellers are some of the best investigative journalists that have ever lived. You look at the work that Fugazi does. You look at what Nate at Hindenburg did. You look at Carson Block. I mean, I could go on and on, but really we look at we look at activist short sellers, and I say this humbly as some of the best investigative journalists that exist today, and we try and bring their work that they're doing to a broader audience of individuals that might only traditionally invest on the long side of things. I think the stories are still extremely relevant to those. The second part is the data platform. We've built the most robust data set related to activist short selling in the world. We are providing tools, institutional grade tools to retail investors today. We're doing that in one with our online data platform, which allows you to see track records of every single activist short seller that's published, going back to early 2000s. And we're allowing the retail and institutional grade investors to be served that data in the way they want it. As I mentioned, we're in the AI era. We have organizations and individuals that are using their own tools versus going to dashboards every single day. So we've built an API that can directly connect into any Claude system, any chat GPT system, any system that you're using for your own AI data analysis to help you make decisions on potentially shorting with an activist or doing research on companies that have been reported on. So again, like I mentioned, we have a team of data scientists that are continually updating the types of data that are produced from activist short selling reports. And this is an interesting thing because there's as much as there is quantitative data inside of activist short selling reports, there's qualitative data. And so we've done a huge amount of work at Activ8 Insights to actually systematize the qualitative data inside of these activist short selling reports. And over the coming months, we'll be releasing various updates that helps users realize the actual structural qualitative elements of reports and see how see how effective they are on actually moving the stock price itself. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is does the stock move following the production of a report? And there are trends that you can see based upon the types of evidence or the overall type of theme or archetype, as we call it, that's in a report in the actual decline or increase of the stock price following the publication. And so we wake up every single day as a team and try and figure out how can we bring more insights on short reports to both the retail and institutional investor community. And so we're constantly doing updates. We released our API last week. We're going to be releasing more updates to the data tables we provide, more updates to the dashboard, and we're going to keep doing this each and every day until the broader just methodology of activist short selling is brought to a wider group of people.
That's great, you know. So getting it out there so a wider group of people, so everyone becomes aware that this exists, and it's a good niche, you know. So there's a flip side to the bull market, you know, to the bull theory. Like
Yeah.
not every stock goes up, and also there's also good reasons why these stocks need to be, some of them need to be exposed, you know. So like I feel like always with activism and activist short selling is it's always been attractive to me because you're doing what's right with exposing some of these very bad companies, the bad players. So you know you need both sides of the story. So it's giving. I started my podcast, the Friendly Bear Podcast, for that reason. I wanted to give the bear players a voice. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when, well, at least when I first started, I felt like the bears didn't have a voice. You know, so and now with democratizing everything and everything being out there already, just organizing it in a way and making it more efficient and just more, you know, easy to access and just it's yeah, exactly. Everything you guys are doing. So I wanted to ask you about what okay, the top short report outlets so far, you know, and of course we know Fugazi Research is doing very well. But I wanted to get the top see from your eyes, like the top
Yeah.
performers in the quarter or since the inception of
Yeah.
Activates, and yeah, see what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy to touch on that. And again, like we're what I love about this work is we get to be completely unbiased. I know we're on a podcast with you, and like I don't have to be super nice to you and say, oh,
Yeah, no,
Fugazi's
for
number one.
sure.
It's,
Yeah,
it's because the data speaks for itself. So yeah, I mean, listen, we publish what I just for everybody's sake, we do publish a monthly report. So you can see, the best performing activist short sellers month over month, and then you can also see like activist rankings on our dashboard or through our API. And I listen, I'll just name a couple just from our data. I mean, Fugazi does stand. We track 21 reports. Over 94% of them have declined. The average the average monthly decline of those stocks is 56%, which is extremely impressive. Another outfit that I don't think a lot of people know about is Red Flag Research. So they also produce a Substack. They look at a lot of microcaps, just like Fugazi does. They have a great track record. Night Market Research has done really, really well. Iceberg, and then White Diamond. There's a lot of big names. So like Muddy Waters, Wolfpack, are also up there in the top 10. And so yeah, like again, you can always see the consistent rankings on our dashboard, which is really cool.
great, great. And how do you get aware of these? Like, is this mostly like a Substacks and just reports, websites, the word gets around like on X or something, or
Yeah, it's a really good question. I like, as I mentioned, we have a team of the data scientists, which really are building out different data models to support the retail and institutional investor community related to the performance of activist short selling reports following publication, breaking those down into different archetypes and evidence types, and finding patterns in that. We also have a team of technologists that are focused on ensuring that we're getting notified of the activist short selling reports as soon as they're published. So we've built a myriad of tools, and to be frank, we just monitor this world like a hawk. This is all we do. We don't focus on any other sector of the financial markets. We focus on activist short selling. And when you have that pinpointed focus, making sure that you're on top of everything is is easier than if you're just doing this as a side part of your data business. This is what we do. And so we stay very keen to the market. We follow Fugazi, we follow everybody, and we try and get that data out to our users immediately. One of the really cool things that Activ8 Insights solves, which was a problem I had, which was I wanted to be aware of an activist short report as soon as it came out. I went out and signed up for every single activist newsletter to be notified when a report comes out. And what I found was there's actually a large percentage of them where the email actually won't go out in time, or it'll come out 2 hours later, or it'll come out a full day later, or get stuck in spam. Activ8 Insights has a built-in notification system. So any single time an activist across the broader community comes out, you can receive an alert. You can also choose to receive an alert just when Fugazi publishes a report. If you want to follow specific activists, you can tailor the notifications directly inside of your platform, which is, again, really cool, because what I found was there were some researchers that I definitely wanted to be notified and trade along with them. And so Activ8 Insights does make that easy to be able to do.
Cool. Awesome. And what are the qualities you've observed from the top short report outlets? This is like historically, not just recent,
Yeah.
just from historical.
Yeah, I think what if I when I think back on all the reports, and I'd like to think I try and come at this in a really humble way. I there's so many really smart people in this world that have influenced me and made me who I am in this world. So I really am coming at this really humbly. But geez, when you can explain a short report in one sentence, that I think is like really one of the best best things that stand out in my mind as the best short report. So I think back on, like, Muddy Waters' Sino Forest. There were no trees. Simple as that. There were no trees. Or Hindenburg's Nikola. The truck didn't work.
And they rolled it down the
Or
hill, that one, right?
they rolled it
Yeah.
down the hill. They rolled it down the hill. All right, think back to like some of the one of the Akanda report for Fugazi. Like, their cable company now. Like,
Yeah.
I think back to it when you can explain a short report in one sentence. I really do think that does resonate with individuals, and there is an absolute place for the deep research that goes into to reports where it is extremely complex. I think of the Adani report from Hindenburg. There's Mauritius shells being set up, and there's complex financial instruments being utilized, and it was absolutely complex. Those shorts can absolutely work, but from what we've seen over a period of time, the ones that can be explained really simply are ones that tend to do really, really well.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Yeah, I'm starting to think of some short reports, the one-liners. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly it. When I was an architect, they used to say the best buildings in the world can be you can explain them in a conversation like with your hands. Like, this is the way it looks.
100%.
Like the
It's a good way to put it.
Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown. Are you familiar with Walt Disney? It's like
Oh
this big
yeah,
met. It's like you can. The design was from a crumbled piece of paper. It's like.
yeah,
So it's like you just
exactly.
describe when you can describe it, like it's a human part of it, you know what I mean? And we can all
Mhm.
relate to it and it's easy. It's just yeah, that's the way to do it. That's good insight. Okay, and what is your favorite short report in particular
Yeah, it's
historically?
I appreciate you asking that. And, like, I think one thing before I answered that directly, like, there was this thought that, like, especially after Hindenburg decided to hang it up, and even after following the Andrew Left decision, that a lot of things would cool down. But what we're seeing in 2026 is actually, I mean, it's on pace to set a record for the largest number of short reports in a single year. We're on track to hit 256. We've already had a 134 reports to date, and that comes from 39 firms. In the entire year of 2024, we had 145 from 38 firms.
Wow.
And yeah, in 2025, we had 221 from 45 firms. So, like, this world is still growing, and I think it's because the barrier to entry is lower. You're able to start a Substack. You're able to publish reports as long as you do your research. You can become an activist short seller. Now it takes time, energy, and effort to become a really good one, but like you can become one. So when I think, if I think back, like one that really got me into this industry that I really wanted to focus on was the whole Nicola saga. I mean, really just hats off to Nate and his team who did that work. I know we've all read it. It goes back to what I was saying. The truck didn't work, and seeing the reaction from the company and how strong, even up until this year, that they continue to fight those allegations is quite frankly interesting, for lack of a better word. And the impact that had really was amazing. I mean, the Sino Forest is a classic. And I could keep naming them, and I love talking about this, but if I had to choose one to like put in a frame and put on my wall, it'd probably be the Nicola one. And I'm sure there's a couple Fugazi ones in there that will be in the frame as well.
Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, man. And I'm thinking of the time I went to Colombia to expose is like there's no
Yeah.
marijuana plants. The marijuana plants were fake. It's like you
Yeah, I
you
love it.
describe
There were
it
no
just
plants.
in
Yeah, there were no plants. Yeah, it's like
yeah,
it's yeah, you kind of had like the Sino Forest of weed. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it really
Okay,
was
and
amazing.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so now what are your goals with Activate Insights? Where do you guys see yourself in the future? Let's say 20, 30, and even beyond, our lifetimes. Where is the short report
Mhm.
world going to go with AI? AI is going to take over. There's going to be robots doing short reports or
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. And listen, for as it pertains to Activate Insights, what we want to do is bring broader awareness to the activist short selling world. We operate on a number of social media platforms, not just the Fintuit community, because we really want to bring the great work that activist short sellers are doing to the broader investment community. I We do have a huge amount of educational resources on activate8insights.com that are completely free for everybody to see if they want to learn about how short selling works, what it is, what is activist short selling, what is the history of activist short selling. They can access all that information completely for free, and we're always updating and adding more information. Not that we think every single person should be a short seller, but they should know that this strategy exists and that people do employ it because it impacts their long investments as well as especially if they short. And so we want to bring the world of activist short selling to a much broader group of individuals. And then we want to arm them with the tools they need to be able to make investing decisions that benefit their portfolio. It's as simple as that. So in short, we want to just grow the group of people that know the activist short selling community exists, expand the reach of their work, and let whether it's institutional or retail investors make informed decisions about what to do. Now, to answer your question about where's it going like in 2030, I really do think, as much as we analyze this world every single day, that we're going to eventually, and this is like an interesting topic to talk about, but I really do think we're going to eventually see, not in the very distant future at all, completely AI automated activist short sellers. The amount of research that can be done, utilizing, a Claude subscription is pretty fast. The ability to get that information out into the world using, automated means of social media distribution or automated means of media distribution in general. We see that the best activist short sellers are continuing to rely on the human element of things. And you've talked a lot about this, which is the taking the human beings out of it is I personally think a mistake at this point in time. But I do think that we're going to see a continuous growth in the AIification of activist short selling research like collation and actual distribution of that information. And I think the question we'll have to ask ourselves an interesting question, and that's, are the robots right? And we're still going to have to do the same validation, and that's what Activ8 Insights is focused on, is continuing to provide that same validation of reports, whether it's completely AI generated or whether it's human generated.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I think that the best short reports are going to be, or the best firms are going to employ a lot of human uh into that. Humanity. How you say this? It's going to be more human. For example, the human experience, like the memory I have from the from trading and from being a part of the industry, and it's hard to replicate that. Like I know we spoke about this for you hit me up not long like a week ago or so about an my thoughts on I think on something else. But anyway, it came I thought of the recent report we did, and I was like, wait a second. I remembered this guy, Jonathan Lebed. He was sued by the SEC as a 15-year-old for manipulating stocks. This is like in 1999. And then and he's tied to this company now, the National Association of Inflation or whatever. And that's tied to this Canadian stock. And that's tied to this one, GRIL, which used to be the ticker, a former ticker that was a pump and dump also. So it's like, how does AI go from that to that to that to that? Like draw all these experiences that I've logged on through my memory of like talking, having conversations with people. Because a lot of the best information isn't online. And what is what are the robots getting the information from? Where are they getting the information from? They're getting it from sources online, the public information. A lot of this information, the best, juiciest information, is not exactly public. You got to go get it and get evidence about it. So how does a robot get evidence? And human beings, we take different kind of risks than a robot. Like it's a different experience. So the best ones, like for example, when Nate, I remember Hindenburg, he went to Central Park with a disguise to meet with a former employee and get. So how is a robot going to get in contact with former employees? It's very hard because when I go for former employees, when I'm looking to dig deep, you got to do like background checks. Some stuff is redacted. You got to like ask another employee and another. So like, how is a robot going to do that? So the best short reports, I think you're gonna have the definitely have a lot of human element to it, and it's just and also going to get the evidence. Like when I went to Colombia to get the evidence of that marijuana farm, the fake marijuana farm, how's a robot gonna do that? So it's like I think the AI is gonna it's gonna help a lot. It's gonna make things come to the surface. Like it's gonna the bad guys can't hide as much, but like you still have to go in and that human being, which is everything is tied to like we're human, we're living here. Like AI just can't just control. I mean, maybe they have cameras everywhere. What if AI they can see they don't even need to talk to former employees. We just have no privacy. We're run like the movie The Terminator. Is
Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but I mean, you raise a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, in order for AI to be able to do what the great example you just described, you would have had to input your entire memory into some type of database, and then it would have to like make the connection that you were able to instinctually make that quickly. Now, I do think honestly, like it's possible. It's possible for you to write every single thought down that you've ever had, and then let different AI models, make connections on that. But so much of activist short selling is drawing individuals in to make a decision based upon a report, whether that's a institution, whether that's a quant model that's saying, hey, Fugazi just did a report, I'm going to automatically trade this, or whether that's a retail investor. At the end of the day, you're wanting to draw a reaction. And from what we see in the research, the some of the best reports employ some really direct human to human research, whether that's physically going to a store and finding out that they're not using the AI robots that they said they were using, whether it's going to a weed field in Colombia and finding out there is no weed, whether it's going to supposed forest and finding out there are no trees. Like that actually matters. Or when Nate went to the actual hill that Nicola rolled the truck down and figured out that an SUV could travel at 65 miles an hour down the same hill. Like these humans believe other humans. And so when a human being is saying, "Hey, I went there, I saw this, it's not real," that means something completely different than, "Hey, I used satellite imagery and it looks like there's nothing there." It's just human beings have a different reaction to
Yeah.
saying, "I was there, I took, here's the picture, I'm here right now, and there's no we." It's
Yeah.
different than using satellite imagery to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And okay, so what about some new features? Any new features you guys working on? Any
Yeah.
some intel over here
Yeah,
on
man.
Activate
Yeah, of course.
Insights?
I mean, listen, the biggest thing that we're going to be releasing in the coming weeks is the ability to take all the qualitative information that exists in our entire corpus of reports and being able to systematize that. So in the coming weeks, we're going to be releasing some updates, and we have a very proprietary system that we built to be able to analyze even the qualitative elements of a report along with quantitative, and be able to actually break that down into what we call archetypes and evidence types. And what users will clearly see from that is there are direct connections between the type of the archetype or theme. So whether that's a accounting manipulation or potential accounting manipulation, or something Fugazi specializes in, which are engineered exits, is another common theme that we see. And you can see the potential of that stock declining based upon one, the actual researcher who's producing the report and the actual themes that are coming out. Like outside of that, like I said, we're always updating the data tables inside of our API to support both our institutional and retail users. We are going to be coming out with an MCP as well, just to make it that much easier for users to connect their Claude or AI systems to be able to suck in all the short report data that's ever existed and be able to do their own analysis on it. We've made huge improvements to the dashboard. It's the whole thing is completely customizable, down to the color, font, and everything you want it to be like. One of the cool things we have that we released last week in the dashboard is we have this thing called Short King mode, where you can see the declines as green and the increases as red. We call that Short King mode. It's just it was a small funny thing, but
Yeah.
it was a cool update we had last week. And yeah, I mean, listen, the the ability for us to do great work is built upon the backs of organizations like Fugazi, Muddy Waters, and the rest of the activist short selling world to do great work. So our goal is to just amplify the work that you all are doing in this world and help educate a broader set of investors. And so we're always going to be releasing more tools, bring more journalism, and bring more insights related to the world of activist short selling.
Good stuff. Well, I'm really looking forward to all that. And yeah, I love the short king mode. It's hilarious,
Short King
man.
mode. You live in
Um,
it. You live in it.
yeah, so what is a short king exactly? It's like a slang term of like a short
Yeah.
guy that's like a boss. Like
Yeah, short guy that's a boss. Yeah, we kind of took the term. Listen, I thought it was always funny,
yeah.
and yeah, I guess in pop culture, a short king is
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. I've
short
seen
but
like women
archetype, but
say
is
it
a
like,
boss.
"Oh, to all my short
Yeah,
kings out there."
yeah, to
Like
all my short kings. And so yeah, we tried to take a different approach to the short king,
yeah, yeah.
and bring it to the world of investing. And so every single month we
But
crown a
short
short
king
king.
mode, that's like a
Yeah, you got
hardcore
short king going.
mode.
Yeah, you're in it. If you're in short king mode, you're in it. You're in it. So yeah, we allow anybody with access to our platform to be in short king mode.
Nice, nice. Great. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Also, you'll be at the conference we're having October 12th. To all the short
For sure, man.
sellers out there, it's going to be a wonderful event. I have my social club across the street for here in Los Angeles, City Club, 51st floor. We have like a space up to 600 people. It's going to be crowded. I hope to have as many short kings out there as possible.
For sure.
To all my short kings, come to the conference. Activate Insight is going to be there. We have some other people, Short Finder, some short sellers. Uh, the Fugazi research team's going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. So don't miss it. I'll have it. The tickets are in the show notes. And yeah, Will, it's very great to connect with you. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you in the near future.
Absolutely. Great to be here, David. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. See ya. Bye.